Welcome everyone to the Retribution Paladin Artifact Challenge. This fight is against Sigryn, Runeseer Falyar, and Jarl Velbrand. I'm sorry Swedes, I tried. They're difficult pronunciations for me. This fight is a test of endurance more than anything else. It took me about 13 minutes overall. It was very low DPS, but the reason for that was because I took a lot of strange talents. I took Divine Purpose over Crusade, which many Ret Paladins will say is heresy, but my main healing source was Justicar's Vengeance, and the Divine Purpose procs work very well with Justicar's Vengeance. So whilst it was a massive DPS loss, it gave me a self-sustain that helped me through the whole fight. If you have the Predaz legendary, you probably don't need to do this, as Predaz will absorb most of the damage for you. At the start of the fight, all I did was throw a judgment at Sigryn and move her right back to the back of the room, and from there I just cast Repentance on her and let her sit in that for a while. She'll take full duration from Repentance, but every time you cast it on her the duration will be halved until you let her sit out for about 20 seconds to let the diminishing returns kick in. Once she's Repentanced, I just go onto the Runeseer, and he has an interruptible cast, doesn't deal very much damage, interrupt it if you feel like it. I just nuke down him, and not much happens for a while until the Jarl gets empowered. Now when he's empowered, he grows large and he moves more slowly, but he also deals mega damage if he reaches you. So I pretty much tried to use Hand of Hindrance at this point to slow him down. When that expired, I kited a bit, and just generally avoid him during this because he's going to shred your HP really quickly. The Jarl can also cast a Blade Storm ability, which is just a massive AoE around him. Again, you want to get away from him during this because it will also shred your HP very quickly. Both of his empowerments are pretty much just get the hell out of the way. The Runeseer will just chain cast this ability on you, and when he gets powered up, he'll shield himself, and he'll sit in his bubble, and he'll do a long cast time spell, about 20 seconds. You have to nuke down the bubble and interrupt his spell. I found the DPS check for this was very easy. I didn't have to save any cooldowns. If you're struggling, maybe do something like save Wake of Ashes for every time he does this. But it was pretty easy, and my ret's not very good, like I don't have very many traits, and I'm only 908 equipped. I really rarely play ret at all. This was the first time in months, so any more experienced Retri Paladins will probably do this far more easily than I would. Now whilst you're dealing with these two, Sigryn sits in her Repentance, but because of diminishing returns, you sometimes have to let her out. Sigryn is going to cast these purple runes on the ground, and the runes start at a large size and they shrink over time. And if a rune shrinks out of existence, then it explodes and it will one-shot you. So when she spawns the runes, you want to prioritise the runes with the smallest sizes first, run around and pop them all just by walking on them. If you let any of these blow up, then you are basically insta-dead, so it's paramount that you go for the small ones first to prioritise your time. Additionally, Sigryn has a cast time ability which powers her up into demon form, and if she gets this cast off, you're basically dead as well because it deals massive fire damage to everyone. I was saving my Hammer of Justice mostly for this, however she doesn't really do it very often because she sits in Repentance for a majority of the fight. But if you do have to let her out Repentance, just watch for her casting this and hit the stun on her as quickly as possible. You don't want to let her finish this cast. Now a little bit into the fight, Sigryn also starts summoning these walls of Valkyr. You can see them on the side of the room, and there'll be a gap in them. So you want to look out for where they are, and then watch for the gap, and just stand in place with the gap. Sometimes you get nasty overlaps, like say Runeseer Falyar is doing his bubble and cast at the same time, and you have to move far away to try and get away from the Valkyrs. So for this reason, it's a good idea to have Sigryn Repentance on the outside of the room, and tank the Runeseer and the Jarl sort of in the middle, so you get a bit more flexibility in where you move. If it's a really tricky situation, you can just pop your bubble and just tank through it. Generally I didn't find that was too necessary very often. I could just move for the Valkyrs and move back and I still had enough time to break the bubble. But something to bear in mind, if you do need to get hit by Valkyrs, make sure you have bubble available. As you get later into the fight, most of the other mechanics will stop being used, and Runeseer will just shield himself constantly. He'll just continuously pop this shield on himself and try and cast. As usual, you just hammer into him, keep dodging the Valkyrs, and just interrupt him every single time. Honestly, the fight gets kind of easy at this point, and it's mostly the first part that's the big hurdle. You have to deal with lots of abilities at once, and then towards the end it's just chain casting this bubble, breaking it and interrupting him, and it's pretty straightforward at that point. In terms of the gear I used, I'm 908 equipped. I had about 40 or 41 artifact traits, and for legendaries I used the Chain of Thrain and I used Sifil's Secret. Those are the two I happen to have that were good for Retribution. Your mileage may vary, you may get some better use out of other stuff, but I found this was a pretty solid combo. The movement speed from Sifil's was really good for reaching the runes, and Chain of Thrain is just solid for DPS overall. As I mentioned at the start of the video, if you have Predaz, definitely try use it, because it lets you just take the load off on healing, and you can go for a far more aggressive build and finish the fight a little bit more quickly than my 13-minute kill came in. Thanks for watching, and good luck in getting your artifact appearance.
doing? This is not right!
You must overcome the corruption, Sigryn. You have the strength!
But, Mother, I must avenge your death!
Vengeance will not bring her back, Sigryn. Your people require a leader. If you fail, the Tidescorn are doomed.
No, the Fel will not take me! It will not!
Forgive me, Heir.
My shield is ready. I will be hunted no longer.